And the information I'm giving you today is very important, and I suggest you take notes. Many conservatives are unfortunately falling into this constitutional convention trap. And we need to be there to tell them the facts about why this is a bad idea. Next slide. And the right to a con-con. It's found in Article 5 of the Constitution, and it says the Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislators of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by Congress. That's where part of the Constitution where the con-con advocates are getting their impetus for trying to do this idea under the guise of supposed reform. Next slide. And now for some background, there's been two con-cons in our history. One gave us the United States. The other the one for the United States that gave us our Constitution. The other one for the Confederacy. They've been held in secret, usually away from the public up until this point, and it gives the people the chance to alter their government. And this is good. The people should have the option to alter their government, and the Constitution they're bound to. But the fact that the Constitutional Convention is constitutional and can be legally done, that's not the question. Of course it can be done, but the question is whether it's a good idea to do so, and it certainly is not, in my opinion. Next slide. And the allure is obviously, we have a constitutional crisis in America right now. Therefore, the proposed solution to this mess, a proposed solution to this mess from some has been to hold another constitutional convention, supposedly to solve our problems. So if it worked for the founding fathers, it'll work for us, right? Wrong. And it really didn't work for the founding fathers. They originally just wanted to amend the Articles of Confederation. But things took a turn. And they ended up with a new Constitution. And that Constitution turned out fantastic, as we all know. But, I don't think our country right now is filled with the brilliant minds of people like Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. We've fallen pretty hard since then. And, it's very possible that a Constitutional Convention could get hijacked by, ignorant and or unscrupulous individuals who are so pervasive in this country, and they could hijack it and turn it away from anything that would promote liberty and turn it into something that would promote tyranny. Next slide. And this is why con-con is a bad idea. And we could end up with something much worse than we already have right now. The Bill of Rights could easily be thrown out. That could easily be thrown out. There'd be nothing stopping it. And people clamoring for human rights could give us a Soviet-style constitution. As Eric mentioned, people think they have the right to a well-paying job, they have the right to health insurance, they have the right to a home, they have the right to birth control, and so on. And these type of people who believe they're entitled to these rights, they would be working their butts off during a constitutional convention to make sure that all these rights that they believe they have would be affirmed in the new Constitution. And they could easily hijack it. Nothing would be stopping them from doing it. And there's no set rules, no set protocol for delegates. So it's kind of there's in the Constitution in Article 5. They don't give specific guidelines for a constitutional convention. So it really would all be willy-nilly. How would we get the delegates there? No one really knows. And Obama and company could easily hijack this, and it could give Obama the opportunity he desperately wants to rewrite the Constitution. And that would be, and you can imagine every big government-loving interest, armed with tons of cash, would be descending on this con-con, doing everything they can to subvert the process and make it benefit themselves. We'd be opening Pandora's box, and likely would inflict the final death blow to the Republic if we signed on for this Constitutional Convention. Next slide. And another thing, yes, they're unruly, hard to keep under control, could easily veer into something else, as it did for the Founding Fathers, and waste of time. Robs time and money from good efforts like C4L or good Tea Parties, groups, And we can't afford to squander those resources. We don't have the millions or billions of dollars in corporate money that a lot of other interests have. So we can't be sending our resources down this dead end. And if pursued, it would be the death knell for the Liberty groups and the Tea Party groups. It's only taking us away, our precious resources away from groups like us and groups like the Tea Party groups that are actually working to reclaim liberty and puts them towards something that has no chance of being successful. Next slide. And yeah, even if let's assume, for the sake of argument, the con we had it and it was successful. Even if it were miraculously successful, it would accomplish nothing. And you know, the problem we have right now is that the government does not respect the rule of law.
Good point.
Replacing the Constitution with a new document will only make the feds disobey that new document or new amendments that are proposed. So we just come up with some new rules for the feds to disobey, along with all the other rules we have right now that they disobey. Big whoop. And the problem isn't the Constitution. We have a great Constitution. The problem is that no one follows it. No one follows it. And making some new rules to throw on top of our great Constitution does nothing. The con idea, and it's important to note, the con idea does nothing to enforce the current Constitution we have right now, and that's what we need to do to save the Republic. Thank you. Next slide. Okay. And yeah, watch out for this trickery. Mark Levine's book, The Liberty Amendments. This is a very dangerous book that's making the rounds in Liberty and Tea Party circles. It proposes an Article 5 convention, which is just as bad as a constitutional convention. And Levin and others are trying to dupe people into believing that an Article 5 convention is somehow very different than a constitutional convention. It is not. It technically is different, but it poses all the same risks as a con and should be avoided for very similar reasons. Next slide. And here's a description of the Article 5 convention from the book's author, Mark Levin. He says that the text of Article 5 makes clear that there is a serious check in place. Whether the product of Congress or convention, a proposed amendment has no effect at all unless it's ratified by legislators of 3/4 of the several states or by conventions of 3/4 thereof. This should extinguish anxiety that the state convention process could hijack the Constitution. So this supposed check, according to Mark Levin, is the state legislatures. And we've seen what this legislature in Michigan is all about. I mean, they passed Medicaid expansion. They're working to pass Common Core. They're working to pass gas tax increases and whatever else. So, you know, we're supposed to leave the fate of our Constitution in the hand of those bozos? That's our big, that's going to save us, that's going to save the Republic, is putting the fate of the Constitution in the hands of our state legislatures? Yeah, right. But, I mean, they've already proven, at least in this state, they've already proven to be cheerleaders of big government. So why would it be any different in any of the other states? It's very conceivable, in my opinion, that 38 states could come together, support big government, and put together some awful new constitution. That's a real concern. And Mark Levin apparently thinks that will not happen, but yeah, right. Next slide. And yeah, again, and just to reiterate, Article 5 convention is different than a con, but still dangerous. It could just as easily spiral out of control. No guarantee that liberty amendments stay on the agenda. And rhinos and Democrats in state legislatures could destroy the Constitution and replace it with much worse. And yeah, there's enough rhinos out there where they could partner with Democrats and state legislatures across the country and turn this Constitutional Convention into our worst nightmare. Relying on bureaucrats to fix this problem is a recipe for disaster. The bureaucrats are what got us into the problem, so now hoping that some bureaucrats, whether they're in Lansing or Washington, D.C. or wherever else, is going to fix our problem is completely the wrong-headed solution. Next slide. And again, this is a scam. That's a key point. It's not just a bad idea. This is a ruse designed to destroy our movement. And this isn't a well-meaning effort that's misguided. This is a deliberate attempt by the Republican establishment to send Liberty and Tea Party people down a wild goose chase so they can regain control over the conservative movement. Instead of nullifying their evil behavior or voting them out, they want us to spend all of our time and all of our resources on this con diversion so that they can get their guys back in and reclaim control of the party that's slipping away right now. And Yes, and yeah, it's been perpetrated by Mark Levine and his neocon, warmongering, Constitution-hating buddies. Mark Levine, he only talks constitutional when the red team's in office, but when they're out of office, he's Mr. Constitutional. And in actuality, he's one of the biggest big government supporters around. Yep. And the fact that Mark Levine, he was the biggest cheerleader of the Republican establishment known to man. When Bush was in office, he supported illegal war, illegal spying, Patriot Act, NDAA, and the rest of it. But then when Bush gets out of office, he loves Ted Cruz. He loves Rand Paul. He loves liberty. Give me a break. And he's trying to dupe Tea Partiers and Liberty supporters and trying to send them down this wild goose chase. And it makes me sick. Next slide.
Amen.
And okay, yeah, here's what is Mark Levine exposed. Here's what he talked about Ron Paul 2 years ago. Ron Paul's foreign policy is unpatriotic and un-American, whether it comes out of his mouth or out of the mouth of Occupy Wall Streeters, out of the mouth of socialist communists, appeasers in this country, left-wing Democrats, anti-war activists, however you want to call it. He's a schmuck. He's a crackpot. Now, some of you may be thinking about Ron Paul. I promise you, his followers are the biggest a-holes of them all. Not necessarily because of what they believe, but because of how they express themselves. They're obnoxious. They're like Marxists. So now we're supposed to believe that he cares about liberty 2 years later? When he had a chance to support the best liberty candidate for president in a generation, Mark Levine led the charge in slandering Ron Paul and calling him every name in the book at every chance. And thanks to him, we have another 4 years of Obama. And now we're supposed to listen to him and how to regain our liberty.
Thanks to him and the Republican establishment.
Exactly. Yes. And again, this is not the track record of someone who should be taken seriously on matters concerning liberty, in my opinion. Next slide. His MO made his career of promoting government, destroying liberty. And he's the most dangerous wolf in sheep's clothing out there right now. For whatever reason, conservatives take this guy seriously. They like him, and they believe he's out for liberty. He ain't. And his job is to sucker the Tea Party and liberty folks into the dead end. And he's posing as one of us to destroy us so Bush-era conservatives can reign in the GOP. Bush-era is what Mark Levine's all about. He loves big government, endless wars, and the rest of it. And that's what he wants to get back to. And he's trying to sucker all of us to get back to that. He's a Judas goat sent to lead us astray, and we need to aggressively combat this menace to save our movement before it's too late. Next slide. And here, again, there's a lot better ideas that Mark Levine does not want you to know about that you can invest your time and effort in. And here are some of them. Nullification. This actually enforces the Constitution rather than revising it and changing it like Mark Levine wants to do. Purging political parties, sending all the bums who voted for Medicaid expansion back to wherever they're come from. Mutual aid, mutual self-defense teams. This is a way to mitigate disaster done by the group Oath Keepers. Basically, people coming together and doing everything they can to make sure the civilization doesn't collapse in the event of an upcoming disaster. Alternate markets. This is basically forming barter systems with your common man to avoid all the onerous regulations and new taxes from Obama and the rest of the bureaucrats in D.C., and patriot groups like this one, or 10th Amendment Center, Oath Keepers, We Are Change, Cop Block. There's a lot of them that are doing great work, and you can join them and give your time to them and actually help fight to reclaim the Republic. And these ideas could actually save the Republic, unlike Mark Levine's scheme. Next slide. And please share this information. Get it out to people. In my opinion, this is the most critical presentation I've given thus far for our political movement, because if this idea gains enough traction, it sends the liberty movement back many years. If these ideas take root, it'll be truly devastating for liberty. And it's important that conservatives know the truth, that radio hacks keep hidden from them. Mark Levine's only concerned with getting a rhino into office so he can get rich, spewing his war propaganda, just like he did during the Bush administration. And that's why he doesn't give a damn about truth or liberty one bit. And that's why we need to get out there and educate people about the perils of a con. If we don't do it, nobody will, and they'll fall prey to crooks and charlatans like Levine. Next slide. And again, I got more. If you want more information on the perils of a constitutional convention, on the desk over there, I got a great article from the New American Magazine that goes into more in-depth details about that. And there's also this excellent website from the John Birch Society up there. Take that down, and they got They got videos, pamphlets, articles, and other resources that'll help you inform conservatives about why a con must be avoided to save liberty. Thank you.